This? I guess because I protected everybody? Oh. Oh, man!
Of course, everybody knows the flamingo.
Got him. Winning, winning, winning. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. That was badass. Amazing. Oh my god. What a game. What was that? How many kills did I get that game? 12. Fucking. Is it destroyed? I'm blowing up. I'm shooting this shit. There. Let's do this! What's my clip? What's my highlight? This? I guess because I protected everybody? Oh. Oh, man! I like that. Oh, no, I don't want that. Which one is good? I did pick up. I almost accidentally started the rating process. I don't even know if the clip actually worked, if they actually get the clip. It doesn't seem like it did. Oh yes, this is the best. Oh yeah, I love this fucking play. He was so mad when I killed, he just hunted me down after that. Once he came back, he went straight for me. Victim to this movement and become mindless fucking mouthpieces for hatred, right? And end up doing crazy shit that threatens their life and fucks up their career and safety and everything even fucking more than it was before, right? Like doing something that's like raiding the Capitol on behalf of the president. That's what I'm talking about. That was sick. I'm gonna create a marker for that too. I'm gonna clip that shit. Oh, no, I already did the thing. So I should be able to... From chat. Oh, I didn't make you a mod either. Let me make you a mod, bro. So you could do this shit too for me. Yeah, create your own kind of custom skin if you've unlocked one of those rainbow decals from the new chest box that they have on the shop, the one where you can get the flaming motorcycle. It also drops these decals. If you go to stick them on your vehicle, all you gotta do is make them really big and place them on the right spots, and you could cover the most of the motorcycle and have your own kind of like rainbow psychedelic effect skin.
Happened to me or something. It takes away all of the weight and momentum. But this is going to come back later. I do want to put this out later because, like I said, I thought that this was interesting, but I will be harping on it later. So, we are now introduced to our main character, Jeff, a young man, presumably mid-teens, because once again, God forbid they give us any kind of age to really give an idea. Not even like a grade, like they say, because the whole thing here is...
People, like the people on the ground, the citizens or whatever, it's not power, it's an insecurity. It's a sense. It's like what I was talking about. I don't know if you were here. I was watching a video by this guy, Chell 5, All Gas No Brakes. Dear Kelly is a movie following the life of a Trump MAGA guy and how he ended up there. It's definitely a thing of these people either don't have a sense of security or they lack that security. They don't have a sense of significance or they lack that sense of significance. And they don't have any sense of love or they don't feel loved, right? And those, alright motherfuckers, it is another day and another dollar. I am back on once again. And I was not on yesterday because I was fucking tired. Alright? I'm a human being, goddammit. My life has value. Right? I need to make sure that my brain doesn't explode and fucking fry up. Trying to balance my life and trying to get this to work all by myself. I'm just letting everyone know. I'm gonna take a dab. A nice beautiful dab to start. We got the banana brulee up in here. Shatter. 81%. Very delicious. Very nutritious. We got some right here. Now, that beautiful golden honey, right? Nicely refrigerated. I do have to work later. That's why I'm on pretty early. I managed to get some content going for today. Doing a bit of research on all the fucked up shit that's going on in the world. And speaking of all the fucked up shit's going on in the world, the other day at work, I had this lady come in. Very sweet old lady. She was on her wheelchair. She was like struggling. She needed oxygen tank, you know. She was just a really old lady. And she was just voicing all of her frustrations against the Trump administration, against everything that's been going on. She was just really, really vocal about it. Pretty upset. And rightfully so. And it made me sad to see that this passion for this country and this like desire to want to do something is existing in someone, an old lady, and not in the youth of this country, which is really frustrating, right? And I think it's mostly because the older generations, the ones that had to fight for us to improve everything, understand the sacrifices that were made for everyone here. All right, they understand the sacrifices are made for the young people and for the older folks, and people like her are going to be directly impacted, especially when they start cutting things like USAID, Medicaid, all the stuff that revolves around healthcare, Social Security, and those things directly affect her, right? Makes things a lot harder for her and people like her. So, you know, it's sad that we just don't see enough effort. I will go into later on towards the end. I'll show a little brief clip from Channel 5 of an anti-Elon rally, right? Which is nice to see some protesting happening, but it's nearly not enough. Clearly not enough. Not even close to enough. We need more. Some of my coworkers even say we need to take up arms. You know, and I don't understand why we haven't done that yet. This is a hostile takeover of this country from the inside out, and no one seems to understand that. So, let's start the news cycle. The US Trump succeeded in his plan in forcing Ukraine into the position of accepting a mineral deal, right? Disgusting. Of course, he's out here claiming that Zelensky is a dictator and that he himself started this war, and that the United States is owed from Ukraine for all the support that they've received since the beginning, right? Trump's original demand was ridiculous, and it exceeded somewhere in the $50 billion range. This range exceeds the amount of money that we've even spent in support for them in the war, so it didn't make any sense to even put a fucking number that high in the first place, right? Then, right, so they lowered it, right? But, of course, Trump has the audacity to not even have a guarantee for security from the US, right? So, Zelensky's telling us that, hey, we'll do this deal. We're gonna do it in, you know, obviously not as much as you've said, but we're going to do it because we need help, we need support, we're kind of desperate here. You know, this is important to all of Europe, not just them, but all of Europe. And Trump doesn't bother to give Zelensky or Ukraine the feeling that they're actually going to carry forward with support, right? Especially since Trump is constantly spitting out bullshit Russian propaganda, right? Directly from Putin. Like, he's like directly lapping it up, right? Putin's out here giving them phone calls, telling them what to say, essentially, at this point. And Trump eats it up, and he spits it out. He spits it out. And what's more disgusting, right, is that he'll spit it out on live television next to yet another president from another country and get mad at him when he corrects him on that kind of stuff. But we'll get to that in a second. First, here's just a little bit about the Ukraine-US mineral deal.
The US and Ukraine have reached an agreement on a framework for a broad economic deal which would include access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. This came from 3 senior Ukrainian officials speaking on condition of anonymity. The agreement comes after more than a week of contentious rhetoric between the US and Ukraine. One official said plans are being drawn up for President Volodymyr Zelensky to travel to Washington to meet President Donald Trump as early as Friday. Kyiv is hoping that in return it can secure continued US military support for its war against Russia's invasion.
Damn.
In the Oval Office on Tuesday, Trump welcomed the prospect of signing a deal.
I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me, and I understand that's a big deal, very big deal. Look, it could be $1 trillion deal, it could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things.
It's not a $1 trillion
While
deal,
technical
by the way.
details of the deal are still being figured out, the draft is not expected to include a Trump administration proposal to give the US $500 billion worth of profits from Ukraine's rare earth minerals as compensation for wartime assistance.
It was $500 billion. The original demand was $500 billion. That was even more than what I had originally stated. It's nowhere near close. Not even close. $500 billion? Come on, man. If anyone actually believes that we gave $500 billion in support to Ukraine, they are fucking retarded. They don't know math.
Instead,
it's like they don't have any basic comprehension of just like sizes in terms of like how much something is.
The US
It's just a
and
big
Ukraine would
fucking
have
number.
joint ownership of a fund into which Ukraine would contribute 50% of future proceeds from state-owned resources like minerals, oil, and gas.
Well, there you have it, folks. He succeeded, and MAGA has won a victory. That makes me really disappointed that they could get to tout around now. And it's even more disappointing that Zelensky kind of just handed him this victory without even a guarantee that this is going to happen. But I guess it's because he's trying not to completely sour it. He thinks that maybe, just maybe, he could reach across and get Trump to pull away from the Putin shit. But that's naivety, I guess. I don't know. Hopeful naivety. I don't know what to call that, because there's no shot. Trump is not the type of person to admit that he was wrong. He's the type of person to walk things back, especially when he's dug his heels so hard into something, even if he knows he's fucking wrong. Even if he knows it might like hurt him in the long run. He'll force a square through a round hole as much as he can. And in regards to his Ukrainian statements, right? Trump had met up with French President Emmanuel Macron. Macron came over here to the United States to meet Trump in the Oval Office, where they had a press conference meeting, and they spoke about various things, right? And it seems like the main crux of it was the whole Ukraine-Russia situation, and you know, as well as a lot of other like US propaganda bullshit that Trump usually spouts out, and Macron not so much pressing too hard about those things, but obviously showing his confusion and skepticism towards nearly every bullshit claim that Trump had given out. But it was what I love about this, and a lot of props to the French president. He definitely was not afraid to tell Trump the truth and not mince words. and to make very clear where he stands and what the actual truth is of something, right? And I'm sure that the MAGA crowd is going to ignore any of the words that the French president has to say, just spouting it up to be liberal propaganda, right? And, you know, kind of sucks it's the case, maybe, just maybe, it'll get across to some people because, I will cover this later, there has been a growing resentment and regret amongst some of the voters for Trump that they've begun to be voicing out, right? It's not a massive change, not yet, but we're starting to see the cracks in the armor, right? However, again, much props to the president, and let's see how Trump handles all of this pushback and criticism. I'm sure you guys could guess how he does, especially since we've seen so many other examples of how Trump handles pushback and criticism from people. But let's take a look at this.
Just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear, we have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day in the negotiation we will have with Russia,
what's going on, JP site? How's it going?
Give it to us. Super. It will be loan at the end of the day. And Russia
So as you can see here, you know, what's fucking nuts is the president had reached out and put his arm on Trump, which is like, I think everyone's been talking about it. It's a little psychological thing, I guess. Maybe you just try to be nice and respectful and be like, hey, listen, I am not going to, you know, directly assault you right to your face and shit like that. Okay, that's cool if you think he's gay. I don't understand like how him being gay has anything to do with any of his work as a president and shit. You could have that opinion about him being a fraud, right? I would like to hear why you think he's a fraud. However, he's not wrong here. Him confronting Trump about everything he's been fucking saying is not incorrect. His claim that Ukraine was loaning money, no, that the European countries were loaning money to Ukraine is bullshit, as he just explained to him right there. So, you know, regardless of how you feel about this, the president definitely put Trump in his place 100%, you know, especially with a lot of the bullshit that he was claiming. We're going to watch this in a little bit fuller detail, right?
Mr. President, do you think that Ukraine should give up a part of its territory?
I mean, it sounds like you definitely have something against gays if you're fucking out here screaming that I believe he's gay and I think he's a fraud and a dumbass. Like, why the fuck was that? It doesn't make sense. Even if it's out of spite, it sounds like you have something against gays when you do that kind of shit. You know, it doesn't make any fucking sense why you gotta like bring them into this shit.
It's
For
a
no
negotiation that's just
But I
started.
would like to hear why you think he's a bigger fraud. I mean, I don't follow Europe, like I don't follow in depth other countries' politics, only when it is relevant to ours, right? And I'll research whatever it is I need to, because I have so much concern in this country as it is, and I live here, right? But in terms of the foreign affairs situation, especially when it comes to how Trump is handling the situation and making it into a fucking dumpster fire, I think the French president, is well within his rights in place and is right about this. Not coming across as a fraud at all right now, or a dumbass, as a matter of fact.
And, you know, they've been fighting, and there's been a lot of land that's been taken, so we'll have to see how that works out. That's part of the negotiation.
In this meeting,
I will say there was
many moments like that where the president, the French president interrupts or corrects Trump about a lot of statements that he's been saying.
great unity in that room today. You know, we were via Skype or whatever, but it was great, tremendous unity today in that room with the other countries. I was very impressed by it.
Territory is back. Can they take it back? What they lost in the past years?
That's not an easy thing to do, is it? Right? It's not an easy. You know, just asking whether or not
This is
You can take
refreshing to
back
me
the
because
land
of
that
how
they
often I
lost.
see like other politicians, whether it be from abroad or in the United States, just like being too afraid to like express their genuine position or at least recorrect Trump. And I'm assuming he doesn't feel that fear because he's not put into a position where he needs to like please Trump that much, right?
And
He's not
I
really in that
say
position
that,
right now.
Yeah, perhaps
If anything,
some of it, yeah.
Trump
I
needs
hope
to
so.
make sure
But
that he doesn't spoil every single relationship that he has with every fucking ally that this country has. Like, we're just going to completely jump ship and switch teams, geopolitically speaking, every 4 years. It's kind of fucking crazy, you know? I mean, to be fair, Macron did go to extreme lengths in 2022, trying to prevent the Russian invasion and endured humiliating treatment in Moscow well before the invasion. How? I mean, I would assume that that's like what all of Europe was trying to do, was to prevent the Russian invasion. I don't think that's a bad thing that he wanted to prevent that at all. Especially, you know, I'm against this invasion. I'm against Russia entirely. I just want to make that clear, right? I think that what Russia's doing is going to extreme lengths to obtain and secure its goals, right? So I would assume that the proper response is to go to extreme lengths to prevent them from being able to do that. So I would like to understand what you would consider extreme lengths and how being humiliated in Moscow fucking matters at all, being the French president.
that's not an easy thing to do.
Like, I would take that as a win, honestly, because who gives a fuck what the Russian citizens think of you as the ruler of a separate country that's a rival to it? Like, of course they're going to not think very highly of you.
It's going to be something we're
It's
talking about.
survival in the state's mind, right?
Accept the
So-
European troops as peacekeeper, would you think?
Yeah, he will accept that.
He will accept.
I've asked him that question.
You talk to him?
I've asked him that question.
All right, so then
Because he's not.
I don't understand why you think he's a fraud. Are you walking back what you said? I would accept that. If you're gonna walk back, calling him the biggest dumbass fraud in your life, so
His deal. He's not
well,
looking for
maybe
more
I'll
war.
accept
He
that.
doesn't mind, but I've specifically asked him that question. He has no problem with it.
Is France going
Wait,
to
wait. Is that a joke then? Are you trying to troll me? Because if you are, you got me.
$300 billion in frozen Russian assets in Belgium? France has opposed unfreezing it to pay Ukraine and compensate the U.S. for its support. Is France going to lift its opposition to that?
This is, we speak about frozen assets. We already used them to back precisely the loans negotiated at the G7, and it's part of the sanctions. So it will depend on the follow-up of the discussions. But clearly, we respect international law. It's just
You see, I
frozen
noticed
assets
something
now.
with Trump.
You can
When he
take the
feels super
proceeds of the frozen
uncomfortable, he
assets,
does
but you
this. He
cannot
leans
take the
forward
assets themselves
hardcore.
because it's
You know, it's like
not
he's getting
respecting
into this
international
defensive
law, and
position.
we want to respect international
How's
law.
one different
Shoulders
than the other? If you
raised.
can take the proceeds from it, how can you not do
Because it's
that?
very different. You keep the assets, you take the proceeds because they are paralyzed in a certain way. You take the proceeds during the wartime, but you keep the assets, and it's part of the negotiation at the end of the war. Because, this war costed all of us a lot of money. And this is the responsibility of Russia, because the aggressor is Russia.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, this frozen asset should be part of the negotiation, all in all.
Will France support the U.S. being compensated?
I support the idea to have Ukraine first being compensated, because they are the one to have lose a lot of their fellow citizens and being
Exactly.
destroyed
I feel
by
like
these
this is
attacks.
obvious.
Second, all of those
I feel like that
who
shouldn't
paid
even need
for
to be said, but
will
I
be
guess it
compensated,
does.
but not by Ukraine, by Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
Again, just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid. We paid 60%
This is what we just saw
of
a
the total
second ago.
default, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear,
Okay.
we have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging.
Yeah, again, this is
So they
very.
are frozen. If at the end of the
I
day
feel,
in the
like,
negotiation,
I feel like we need more of this. We don't get a lot of it in the media. It sucks that we have to wait for like a foreign official to come around and just do something that's just so simple and yet so necessary for discourse and politics in America, which is just making sure that our leaders aren't just spouting out fucking misinformation, and that we make sure that the people who will hear said words or actions from this guy don't just fall for it and fall blindly for it and come in lock and step with it.
Conversation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us.
It just sucks
Super.
that every
It will be
single
known at the end of the
time
day, and
it
Russia will have
happens,
paid
it's
for
only on
that.
an
If you
individual
believe
level,
that, it's
and it gets drowned out by a bunch of people who just come out and just claim that it's liberal woke mind virus stuff.
okay with
They don't
me.
even bother listening to anything.
But they get their money back, we don't, and now we do. But, you know, that's
I
only
think
for
Macron and Starmer both have understood that you need to treat Trump like a toddler, yes.
Well, we're
mean,
negotiating
yep.
everything, and everything's
It's
on the
the only
table.
way
and we'll see-
forward. I mean, Trump clearly has that mentality, and everything he does, it's toddler-like mentality, right? Very gullible by people who seem richer and more powerful than him, that he, in one way, respects, and in other ways, fear, right? So, very easy to manipulate if you're in that position to be able to manipulate him, which Putin is, which, you know, a lot of other authoritarian figures and politicians all around the world seem to also be doing, right?
Maybe we can get
And
some land back.
trying to get conversation to happen with this guy who doesn't even actually listen to you half the fucking time. Because, of course, every time when President Macron speaks, he's like zoning him out. You could see he's like fucking in his eyes. He's what's the word? Disconnected, disassociated from the situation in the room that he's in right
and
now.
we'll see
right?
about a lot
He's
of
probably
different things.
thinking of
And
ways to
we're
just
going to be
punch this
making a little
fucking guy in the
speech
face.
and say a few words. And
this point.
a little while, we're going to have another meeting, a luncheon meeting, and we'll see you in about 2 hours. Okay? Thank you very much, everyone.
Do you think any of these individuals, whether Macron, some other ally, hold on, let me put this back on because some other ally, newly elected Merz or Starmer, could possibly reach Trump and find some kind of middle ground? I think that there's a chance for sure. Do I think it's a likely chance? I'm not sure, especially since these meetings happen every once in a while, and after, like, I guess to put in perspective, once Trump is done with this meeting, what is he going to do? He's going to go right back to hanging out with his yes men, like being surrounded by all of his people that he has surrounded himself with, that, you know, every moment kind of just cater to him and shit like that. So, you know, I'm pretty sure he kind of does what like a high schooler would do or a child would do, right? When they get into an argument, they go to their friends and like try to just talk shit about that person and just like, you know, self-confirm their own biases off each other. So maybe at some point, if he gets enough pressure from all these people, right? Because it can't just be one person. It's got to be like a large group of people. And on top of that, they force his hand. Because I think at this point, like a toddler, like what you would do with any of the toddler, you kind of just have to force their hand into doing what's best for them or their country, right? So hopefully, you know, I want to be optimistic here, but Trump is as stubborn as a fucking rock, dude. Like a rock made of adamantium. Like I don't even think that the problem with him is his ego, right? Where I feel like he knows sometimes that he's 100% wrong about something, but because he's dug his heels so fucking deep into the ground on it, he's not gonna move. So I don't know. Even if it fucking kills him, I feel like he's gonna try to force these things to work. He's just gonna try to force it to work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
A fascinating end to that meeting there in the Oval Office as French President Emmanuel Macron seemed to
I just
correct
try
or
to put the
clarify
optimism that maybe
President
people
Trump
who watch this
characterizing how
might,
Europe
like,
is giving aid to
who
Ukraine.
maybe
But a lot
support
of
him won't
news
think
made
twice.
here Trump saying that Russian leader Vladimir Putin would be okay with European peacekeepers.
I feel like there's absolutely no chance. Yep. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be doomer pilled out here, but I agree. I think there's a very, very low fucking chance at this point because, like you said, he is completely off the rails. He's like I said before, he's completely surrounded by people who just agree with every fucking word that comes out of his mouth, right? They don't really give a shit about whether or not he's gonna destroy this country in pursuit of just trying to make himself feel right. But, again, very unlikely that people from across the pond are going to be
in
able to
Ukraine
reach across town
as part of a
at this
potential
point.
deal to wind down this war.
I'm done watching CNN. CNN pissed me off this morning. I saw some dumb shit. It was an interview with Bernie. I feel like they're always like trying to, what's the word? Just kind of like softball interview all these like right-wing politicians only for them to fucking like cater so hard to Trump or like any other right-wing people that they speak to. It's just so frustrating. A lot of people viewed this interview and they tried to armchair psychoanalyze all the touching and gestures that the French president was doing, which I think is like, you know, maybe it could probably a high chance that it's a psychological thing, like a plan that the French president's trying to do because he knows how Trump is. He's very much easily offended. He very much easily overthinks actions. He very much doesn't want to seem like a bitch in front of other people, except for Musk. He's totally okay with seeming like a bitch in front of Musk. You know, that's a whole separate story. But when it comes to people like the French president, he doesn't want to seem like that. He wants to seem like he's strong, right? So I think that the Macron took this opportunity. I'm pretty sure I'm saying his last name way wrong. Emmanuel. Let's say Emmanuel. I'm pretty sure Emmanuel took advantage of this and did that. But there was another piece of little like weird drama that had kind of came out around this whole fucking thing, right? And I think, you know, just people over reading into stuff, and maybe it's totally irrelevant, but people noticed that his fucking hand was slightly bruised and that he might be sick or some shit. Trump's hand, right? And that there's a lot of like glaring issues, supposedly according to these people, that Trump's going through some type of health crisis or some shit. Listen, I had a strong opinion on Macron was simply and purely because I utterly despise domestic politics, and the only reason I'm remotely interested is because I have a lot of family there who are affected on a day-to-day basis. However, he's undeniably an excellent statesman. Okay, that makes sense. That's fair. That's fair. Like I said, I don't follow French politics that much. I only follow what I need to when it's in relation to the United States. So I don't think that he's probably the best fucking president out there, but I respect him not being afraid to speak truth to Trump, like when there's so many other people don't for some fucking weird reason, right? Whether or not he succeeds in his next bout, you know, maybe if he's not fit for president, hopefully he's out. I just hope that whoever replaces him isn't going to be a fucking fascist, white supremacist, Nazi, right-wing motherfucker like it just seems to keep happening all over the world. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but this kind of shit seems popular again, and I can't understand it. I just can't put my mind around it. I apologize to the gay community out there. Their comment was out of pocket again. It was like bringing in Amazon's wage labor and blaming street performers for. Oh, okay, I understand. I accept your apology. I'm not part of the gay community, but I accept your apology. A lot of people come in here, right, and they be trolling and saying shit like that. Usually, you know, I respond to it defensively a lot of times, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll apologize for that. Trump backs Musk as he rolls the federal workforce demands. Okay, so what this is in reference to the emails that Elon Musk has been fucking sending out like rapid fire amongst the federal employee workforce. He is threatening everyone with termination and being fired if they don't send an email to their admin about everything they did in the last fucking week, right? I guess 2 weeks at this point, because they passed the original deadline and he still hasn't done it. So, you know, what is going on here? It seems like most of the federal employee workforce doesn't even fucking know. They're confused as well. And they're being told, rightfully so, by their bosses and other people to not send this such an email for various fucking reasons, right? Sending such an email without, like just on a dime, without like any corporate policies or systems in play to kind of just receive that data and information or whatever it is that you're fucking asking from the employees is nightmare fuel, right? And it could potentially lead to some bad shit. Maybe information leaks, maybe, who knows? God knows what that fucking might lead to. But that's the problem, right? And, of course, it seems to be the case that the right and the MAGA audience, they see this like very simply, I guess. They kind of just minimize it to their own personal experiences at work, right? So it's like, oh, well, yeah, it makes sense that they got to report, you know, everything that they're doing because I got to do something to my boss and shit like that, blah, blah, blah. Not realizing that what's being asked is not the same as that, as well as you have a different fucking job than what's going on over here. Of course, things are to be fucking different across the board, right? If they're genuine about wanting to have more accountability and whether or not employees are doing their work, there's a lot more reasonable and more efficient ways of going about that than just having a mass email where if you don't fucking respond in a couple days, you're out, right? And it's just hilarious too to me because a lot of this is directed towards his own departments, his department, Doge, right? And apparently, you know, it's just weird that he is suspicious of his own employees that he fucking hired himself and that he thinks that they're not doing their jobs. Which is bizarre, right? Again, I don't think they really think about this stuff too much. I think it's just a whole like rapid fire trying to make it seem like he has a really good control over shit, and as well as giving him means to an end, right? And that end is to axe as many people as they possibly can to in efforts to save money, right? And what do you think Elon Musk has to gain from this? Because it's frustrating that this question has not been asked by anyone who supports him and his actions, right? What does Musk have to gain? They all seem to believe that he's just acting out the goodness of his heart and that he's a patriot, right? According to the words of Trump, he's a patriot, right? He's doing what's good for this fucking country, right? He has so much to gain. Very first agency and organization that Doge attacked was the FAA, right? The FAA, right? They axed the heads, they gutted the funding, we started experiencing crazy fucking crashes and really violent plane related stuff, like literally a week later, right? Why did he do that? What does he have to gain from that? Well, it comes out not too long ago that Starlink just scored a brand new sparkling FAA contract, right? Where they stand to make a lot of money. Wow. And it seems to be the case that the pattern is repeating. So it's not just with the FAA, right? It could be with the ATF. It could be with it was a whole, I forgot what some of the others. It's a bunch of fucking agencies. All the very first agencies that he's attacked all regulate or currently doing investigations into one or very few of his companies, right? And again, what follows after the cutting of this stuff is things like him getting contracts, things like the funding for Doge skyrocketing to 40 million, right? Shortly after axing some of these departments and agencies, right? So it's nuts that the most egregious, the most blatantly obvious takeover from an oligarch in US history, obvious as fuck, not happening in the shadows, is not even being questioned by the right, by MAGA. You know, they all this talk about the deep state and shit, yet they just let the deep state walk right in their fucking front door and kick their chest in. Like, I just don't get that shit. How do you not see this, right? How do you not see this? And then he goes ahead and he lies too about all the money he's saving. He's convincing all these people that, hey, we're saving billions of fucking dollars. Billions of dollars, right? We found all these fucking scams. We found all this fraudulent spending. We found evidence of time and time again of funding that was appropriated for one thing being used for something else. And we got rid of it. Not a single shred of fucking proof. Not a single shred of fucking proof. He's touted around something that if you look at it with a cursory glance, 2 seconds at most, you might come across as proof. But on his Doge sites, he posts charts, data points, all this fucking nonsense that equates to him finding out that Congress had appropriated funding for something. That thing was public anyway. That thing was addressed already that problem that he's fucking bringing to light was taken care of or was in the process of being taken care of like 2 to 10 years ago, right? It depends on what the fuck you're looking at. All these are what is going on that site, and then has the audacity to turn around and say he's saving millions. And I'll bring up an example about this. For example, I spoke about this a couple days ago. He came out and said that he found millions of accounts that were receiving Social Security, right, checks that were of people who had been dead for 200 to 300 years, or just people who didn't fucking exist, who just had that they were alive for like 700 years, some crazy shit, right? He said that he found millions of accounts, and he did us a favor. He posted those findings to his Doge site. If you fucking take a look at it though, if you just take out a calculator and start adding numbers and try to check to see if he really did find millions of fucking accounts, you'll see he barely found 100,000. He barely found 50,000. There was like 28,000 accounts. And again, two things to keep in mind with this, right? First thing to keep in mind is all the fraud that was found to have been happening before Trump had taken office, during the Biden administration, they just clawed back the majority of those losses. They already attributed and got back the majority of those losses, right? So, in reality, the amount of money lost with Social Security fraud didn't even reach 100,000. Not even close, right? And the second thing to note is that these accounts that were a few hundred years old or whatever, the reason why they were listed as that, as such, is because the systems, they couldn't confirm whether or not the person actually had fucking died, right? There was missing information, and because of the way that the database was created, structurally speaking, the types of inputs and data that it was allowed to receive and output, right? If you know anything about computing and stuff like that, you'd be able to understand what the fuck I'm talking about. But the type of structural system that they were using it wasn't up to date. So it had to fill in and put these placeholders for information that they didn't have, right? That they'd be able to fix later once they did find out, right? So if you take this into account, you will see that not only has Musk not saved us billions of fucking dollars, not only has he not done that, but he has a gross incompetence or understanding of how some of these systems work, or maybe he does and he doesn't give a fuck. He's lying to people. Again, he's targeting all these agencies because he has something to benefit from them, right? Let's take a look at this chart right here, right? This shows a lot of the spending that we do. The funding. Oh my god, I can't speak fucking words. Funding and spending that we do, right? And how much of it actually went to DEI or the environment or some type of other contract. These dark gray squares are all the DEI funding, right? This motherfucker says that he found upwards to $2 trillion in savings and funds, and he's expecting to give all of us $5,000 checks. If you just take a look at the fucking budget, the US budget, just take a look at it. That money, $2 trillion, we don't even give $2 trillion to our defense spending. That's like twice as much. When it comes to Social Security and Medicaid, that's more than that. If you were to cut literally every single fucking, more than every single agency that received like 1% of the budget, we still wouldn't even come close to scratching that kind of shit. You would have to get rid of something major that would foundationally break this country, right? That's the only way he'd be able to achieve that much level of spending. And it could be argued that after he guts any of these agencies, after these systems are fucking destroyed and gone, it could be argued that we're actually going to be spending more money in the long run trying to compensate for the destruction and dangers and all the new problems that we'll be facing as a country that these systems had prevented and taken care of for us with our tax-paying money, right? This country is on the brink of total destruction from oligarchs and people who love to sympathize with dictators, authoritarian fascists, and crazy fucking people, all in the pursuit of power and money. All in the pursuit of power and money. Nearly 40% of contracts canceled by Musk's Doge are expected to produce no savings. There is nothing being saved from the actions of Elon Musk, except you could argue potentially money for him that's being saved, right? And his corporations and his ventures, right? It's disgusting. Absolutely. I argued, I had a whole stream just dedicated, it was a short stream, but I came on the other day, last week, to pretty much vent about how frustrated I am that when a moment like this happens, that we've done nothing and did not bother to even raise arms against this kind of shit. And what is it that I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about Trump completely ignoring a judge's orders to stop the executive order that kills US aid, unfreeze that money, and release that money back into its programs that so many people around the world desperately need, right? We're talking about hundreds of thousands of lives are now in jeopardy because of this. A judge order, right? The court order, the law system is giving a demand to Trump that he's supposed to legally follow. He's supposed to be able to do this. This is one of the checks and balances and guardrails that we have created in this country to make sure that the President of the United States doesn't just have untold power and can get away with doing crimes and destroying the Constitution, right? He has been ignoring this order. He's directly ignoring a court order. He's breaking the law again for everyone to see. But not just any law, arguably one of the most important laws to preserve this Constitution, this democracy that we have or had, right? This is insanely important to all of us, right? Because if he gets away with this, if nothing happens, nothing's going to stop him. This is him testing the limits of this Constitution. This is him testing our response as a nation towards such crazy oversights and overreaches of power, right? He's doing a power grab with us. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say this, not enough people are reacting to it. It's almost as if they don't comprehend the importance of this fight. This is like the first in many fights that go down the line of a fascist America, complete total fascist America. It is important that we make sure that the president listens to the law, especially laws directed towards him, and not just laws that affect every single random United States citizen. This is directly towards him as a president, right? The judge gave him a deadline, which I'm pretty sure is tonight. It's actually tonight, unless they moved it up. Unless they moved it up. Right? It could be tomorrow night. But there's still a fucking deadline for it. And we'll see what happens if he continues to disregard it. We'll see what happens. But it's not going to be pretty, and we might as well throw out the Constitution after this, because, like, it seems as if so much of it doesn't fucking matter anymore. So much of it doesn't fucking matter. And it's very frustrating. But I will say, this is my hopium here, I guess. This is my little blurb of hope for everyone who's watching, anyone who's watching. There have been some voices speaking out, former Trump supporters, who now regrets the decision, right? An interview was done by the Wall Street Journal amongst some different various people, and I'm also going to have a couple videos from two different people who have also stated their, I guess, their newfound revelations, you want to say, right? Stacy White says she voted for President Trump because she wanted lower prices and to stop fentanyl from coming into the United States. Now, with widespread federal layoffs and expected cuts, she worries her family will lose their house if her partner is laid off from his government-adjacent job. At the dialysis unit where she works, staff have started doing drills for what to do if immigration customs enforcement comes to deport their patients, some who are in the country illegally. When we said safer borders, I thought he's thinking, let's stop the drugs from coming into the country, she said. I didn't know he was going to start raiding places. Well, Stacey, I'm sorry, but you weren't paying attention, because he definitely said this hundreds of fucking times. She said she didn't believe he would actually follow through on some of the more hardline policies he touted during the campaign. Oh, so you did hear it, but you buried your head in the sand. Okay, so you did fucking hear it, and you completely fucking ignored it. Yeah, like, how do we get here? I'm sorry, I don't mean to yell. How did we get here? 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 Please tell me, how did we get here? Where you hear something directly from the mouth of somebody over and over and over again, and you just come to the conclusion, oh, he's just making a joke. He's just fucking lying. He's not serious about that. He would never fucking do that. How? He was saying this shit for fucking 8 years, my guy. For 8 years! Like, I don't... Sorry. I'm back. All right. Now I'm like, dang, why didn't I just pick Kamala? Said the 49-year-old Omaha, Nebraska resident, referring to the former vice president and last-minute Democratic nominee. Yeah, I really wonder, why didn't you fucking pick it? A poll released last month by the Wall Street Journal found that most wanted a tempered, less assertive set of policies than Trump promised in the most unbridled moments of his campaign. The Journal, in recent weeks, followed up with nearly 24 of Trump's supporters and discovered a divergence. Some expressed regrets or concerns, while many were gleeful over his early actions to shake up Washington. I'm thrilled with Trump, and he's done more in less than a month than most presidents have done their whole term. Wow, simply just doing things in record numbers apparently is better than anything, right? It doesn't matter what the fuck you're doing, it's just doing a bunch of shit means something, right? Holistic coach from Cornville, Arizona, was a longtime Democrat who had initially been all in on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. but moved over to Trump after the independent candidate dropped out. Wow. Okay, so this guy didn't really have a lot of brain cells going up there in the first place, it seems. It's just so bizarre. It's just so bizarre, the skewed perspectives that you have to, like, subscribe to, I guess, in order to fall victim to this bullshit. Like, you have to, what's the word for it? You have to make a lot of sacrifices and judgment in order to come to these conclusions. Like, you have to. There's no way. Like, there's at least 2 to 3 different things that I feel like that are instinctive that you will feel that you have to completely fucking ignore to come to the conclusion that this guy isn't going to go crazy just because he said once or twice something that you liked. It only took one or two times of him saying it to make you believe that he's going to do that, but the hundreds of fucking thousands of times he said the complete opposite, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. That's like, I just don't get it. I have no idea. So, I have another one. I think it was over here. I think I read the one I want to read. Oh no, this is the other one. Okay, so here it is. Emily Anderson from Duluth, Minnesota, always considered herself a Democrat, but backed Trump after Kennedy dropped out of the race. Anderson aligned with Kennedy's Make America Healthy Again messaging, particularly the focus on getting toxins out of the food. Kennedy is now Health and Human Services Secretary again. It shows that the American citizens will accept anybody, doesn't matter their background or anything, so long as they say something that they like. Right? Doesn't matter if they're capable of doing it or if they're fucking lying. It's almost as if it's impossible for them to fucking lie, and it's impossible for them to not be capable of doing it because they said it. They said that they're gonna do it. It's fucking crazy. Again, a lot of sacrifices and judgment in order to come to these conclusions. Right? Anderson, who works with disabled adults, said Kennedy's government role is the only bright spot for a vote she categorizes as the biggest mistake of her life. She is horrified. This is single issue voting, right? Yeah, that's the word. Single issue voting. That's what this is. right? When somebody votes for someone specifically because they said one thing that they fucking liked, right? They don't take into consideration, and I think a lot of people in the United States they underestimate the power and ability that a vote for one person can have on this country, right? They chalk it up to being it's impossible that one person could fix everything, right? You're right. But that one person that you vote for is going to affect a large range of issues. They're going to elect a whole administration and cabinet, right? They get to pick and choose and fire who they want working for them, right? They also get to pass so many things like executive orders, the demands about shit in this country. They have a lot of influence, not just here, but all around the world, right? You're affecting a lot, right? And it could be the case when you take that into consideration that voting for one person can make a difference in many different areas, right? So it would make more sense to vote for someone who will cover a lot more of that area rather than someone who says they'll just cover one single part of that area, right? I know for a fact that Kamala had also campaigned on healthier Americans, healthier, I guess, what was it, healthcare in fucking America. Like, she wasn't out here saying we need to fucking inject chemicals directly into our bloodstream, like Trump was saying, by the way. She wasn't doing it out here, doing all that shit, right? So it makes more sense that she would want to vote for, if you care so much about the single issue, you should vote for someone who's going to address that issue along with a bunch of other issues that might also affect you, because there's much more out there, right? I feel like this shouldn't have to be said, but I guess it does. In this country, it does. Right? She's horrified by Trump's focus on deportations and the use of Guantanamo Bay to hold migrants. She alleged that Trump has been too focused on ridiculous flashy moves, such as banning paper straws and renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Her daughter's occupational therapist has stopped taking in new patients over fears that the practice will have its federal funding dried up. I feel so stupid, guilty, and regretful. Embarrassed is a huge one. I am absolutely ashamed, embarrassed that I voted for Trump. There's another guy who's also voicing his regret. I found this in the David Pakman show. So
only because of my beliefs, people around me encouraged it. I can think for myself, yes. But I felt at the time that was the better choice. Now I'm looking at it with everything going on. It was the worst decision I ever made. I wanted not to vote. But people said you won't be able to have a say in anything if you don't vote.
And again, here's the other guy that we saw, was it 2 days ago, who was on CNN, who used to work for the IRS.
What happened today?
So, I mean, I went in at my normal time. When I arrived there, you know, everybody was in a very downtrodden mood. And when I went to my computer, you know, everybody was having some technical issues. Like none of our computers were really loading up either the programs that we needed to operate or like Teams. My story is the Teams. You know, that's kind of how I figured out that we were getting fired today. Was when I went in, I logged into Teams and I sent you the photo of what I saw when I went to log in. And that's when I left my cubicle and I went around to everybody else I work with. And I'm like, hey, what's your Teams look like? Some were having trouble, some were able to log in. It was very, very chaotic. I mean, there was no organization to it at all.
Again, this guy voted for his own firing, essentially. Many people, it seems, many people are being affected by this and are losing their jobs and are being screwed. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. We're not just talking about a few thousand. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. And a lot of them did vote for Trump. And Trump is, if he thinks that that's not going to bite him in the ass at some point, it definitely will. Especially since those people have family members. And they also voted for Trump. So, and I'm sure that they feel empathetic towards them. We'll see how this plays out. So I got one last video. But with this video, I will be booting up Once Human, because for the last hour, I will be on here. I will be playing games, because I want to play fucking games before I go to work, bitch. Jeez, feel free to watch me. Do so. I understand am I a little bored, but I am playing Once Human again. I know that's something I used to play a lot, right? So, trying to get back into it a little bit. Trying to give it grace, right? Give it some grace. Which I shouldn't be, considering the bullshit that they put me through the first time, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Alright, hopefully that doesn't cause my entire system to go kaput. So this is the Elon Musk rally. The anti-Elon Musk rally that I was talking about, that we get to watch. And to avoid bullshit, I'm going to activate the chipmunk sounds. And what do I mean by that? I need to alter the video apparently to make sure that people don't just troll me and keep trying to ban.
You think I probably don't listen to rap music, and you're right. But I heard about the slogan in a podcast, and I thought that is the right idea. Elon Musk, he not like us.
And that's a Kendrick Lamar reference.
I wouldn't know. I know it's a rap music reference. How do the rappers say it?
They not like us.
They not like us. The billionaire shouldn't be able to tell all the rest of us what to do.
Stop the billionaire coup. Elon Musk is literally raiding our government and destroying our country.
I am become a meme.
That's the one illegal alien that we have to get rid of.
Meanwhile, Trump and Musk's efforts to expand the power of the executive branch and slash the federal workforce continue.
What they're doing is illegal. He is not a government employee. 300 employees at the National Nuclear Security Administration were fired.
It's a coup.
It's a bunch of unelected billionaires who are ransacking our government.
This really does look like 1933 Germany. You know, Hitler did rule via executive order.
38 executive orders.
Just executive order after executive order. And it's unreal. It's fascism at its heart.
I have Hitler. What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with Hitler?
Yeah, Trump for emperor.
We want to downsize government, but make it better.
Stop the fucking billionaires.
He's firing a lot of federal workers. Many of these folks have civil service protection, so these things are against the law.
He's in the IRS today, I hear. He's getting all of our information. They're slashing jobs. They're slashing the Department of Education. They're slashing
infectious disease experts, baby formula inspectors, livestock disease testers, people in the FBI.
Everyone has to work and do all this shit and take care of that first. You know, I understand that. We're not like free to just go out there and fight for people's rights like we were before. It sucks that we are not willing though to make that like sacrifice, because I feel like this is gonna be worth it. Like, yeah, we might have to be bit in the ass a little bit, but those who are able to make the sacrifice should definitely be able to get together and do so. That's me being a hopeful. Just hopeful.
Park rangers, bank regulators, CDC, drug addiction and cancer scientists.
basically slashing every resources that we have.
It's kind of like we're gutting the country from the inside out.
And why? Because they want to give themselves a big tax break while they destroy the middle class.
They're just trying to destroy our government, to wipe out the power of the people, and to put oligarchs in charge.
We can't roll over anymore. People are rolling over. It's like, no.
America is resisting fascism like the entire world is.
Because the system sucks. It's done by design, and what we need is a revolution. We really do.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are here live in New York City at Union Square for the anti-Elon Musk, anti-billionaire, stop the coup, fuck the kings protest. We're going to talk to some people about how they feel about everything going on right now.
In this country, I have friends, I have family who are transgender. You can't roll back history. My friend Yvonne Ritter, who just died last year, who was one of the key people at Stonewall.
For context, the Stonewall riots were a series of events that occurred after New York City police attempted to illegally raid and shut down a prominent queer bar in the 60s. It was 6 days of mayhem and is generally considered to be the launch point for the modern gay rights movement.
The other day, we all woke up to see that the T was removed from the website honoring the Stonewall riots.
References to transgender and queer people have been removed from the Stonewall National Monument section on the National Park Service website. This comes as the Trump administration continues to push for federal agencies to only recognize two genders, male and female.
And this is absolutely outrageous. It's like undoing history. It's reversing history. You can't do that. So they might have removed the T, but but they can't undo the history. That's why we're here. That's why it's important to have this flag. I'm an immigrant from Ireland. I came here because I was gay. It was a criminal offense in Ireland at the time, and I came here precisely because there was room here. If you were queer, if you were gay. Now this policy is reversing that.
President Trump keeps his promise to get wokeness out of the United States Armed Forces as he signs multiple executive orders to reshape the military.
And late today at the White House, President Trump signing an executive order banning transgender women from competing in women's sports.
The administration has issued orders for hospitals, for instance, to stop providing health care for young people, for children, for adults who are transgender.
President Trump recently signed an executive order halting federal support for gender-affirming health care for people under 19 years of age.
Can you imagine being in the middle of treatment and all of a sudden a directive comes from Washington to stop that treatment? My husband is a pediatric hematologist, oncologist.
Terrible.
I've been inspired by him as I watched him care for children with sickle cell and with cancer. And I understand how important trials are and research. So the cuts, the directives from Washington have literally cut and threatened the life, therefore, of many children across America and young people.
The Trump administration has told federal health agencies to pause external communications.
So it's very practical. It's not just rhetoric. It literally impacts real lives, families who love their children, who care for their families.
He's acting like a king or wannabe dictator, and I think it's pathetic.
This country is moving very rapidly under Trump into an authoritarian form of society.
We have a government where powers are supposed to be separated between equal branches. The executive branch is not authorized to simply defund programs that have been appropriated by Congress. They're seizing power. They're firing civil service members to put in loyalists.
Overnight, President Trump firing the nation's top military leadership in an unprecedented purge.
The Republican Congress is not checking him on this. They're too timid to do so, and that's why I'm here. I hope we can get back to the democracy we've had for 250 years.
What are some of the executive orders that you found most egregious in this first month of the new term?
Oh, end of birthright citizenship, without a doubt.
President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship has kicked off an unprecedented legal battle over immigration policy.
I'm also worried about there's a bill been introduced in the House to make a national ban on abortion.
I think the executive orders firing inspector generals, I would say, because they are the watchdogs of our society.
Within days of taking office, President Trump fired more than 17 inspectors general across the federal government.
Eliminating any DEI in government programs, which has frightened other agencies and people to stop teaching history and stop teaching about our true history. And
all agencies were directed to put DEI staff on leave. Employees ordered to remove pronouns from their signatures. Diversity inclusion programs shuttered.
You know, I stand by DEI. I'm not going to give up on these terms. Language is structural. It's not just a matter of, exchanging DEI with excellence. I think you have to stick and fight for these terms that we've so hard fought to have inserted in our institutions. I'm active in the cultural world, and I don't let go of it so quickly.
Why do you think they're attacking it so much?
Refreshing to see this.
Because they are racist and equate any challenge to the economic system in this country with people who are not white, and it's actually the opposite. Without immigrants or people who represent diversity in very different aspects, we would be in a much, much, much worse condition.
Tonight, Walmart joining a growing list of companies rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives.
Why do you think there is so much focus on DEI right now?
Because I always think scapegoating people is easy, and I think that they're racist.
Stop the fucking billionaires.
Top 5 worst billionaires, what comes to mind?
Well, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, if he actually is a billionaire. Bill Gates pretty bad, but not as bad as Jeff Bezos. And trying to think of another one.
Larry Fink.
Zuckerberg. Larry Fink. Very good. Zuckerberg's also a fucking terrible billionaire.
As far as wealth distribution goes, do you feel like anybody should be a billionaire?
Probably not. But the thing is that what's more important is that the billionaire shouldn't be able to tell all the rest of us what to do.
Right.
I think they can earn $1 billion, but then they have to have fair taxation.
How billionaire Jeff Bezos pays 0 in taxes.
Because we want to encourage people, you know, and to be, I mean, you've hit my main issue here. But, you know, they hate the government. The government is set up for them to succeed.
The same goes for larger corporations. Smaller companies barely survived the pandemic, while larger corporations simply coasted through. The reason for this was the higher taxes.
And they get a lot of benefits from it. Everybody knows, right? Elon has like billions in government contracts, et cetera, especially his space program.
SpaceX alone has received $19 billion from the federal government, and it is poised to take in several billion a year.
At the president's request.
Does that present a conflict of interest for you?
No, because first of all, I'm not the one, filing the contract. It's people at SpaceX or someone who will be putting for the contract.
The people at SpaceX
is living off government contracts.
Are going to be doing the contracts? You're fucking retarded,
and cutting
my
off
guy.
USAID to countries that are desperately in need of food. Meanwhile, he's sitting on piles of cash.
Backlash after Elon Musk seized control of USAID, the agency that provides U.S. humanitarian assistance around the world.
Oh, the USAID is ridiculous, and the lies around it are unreal. And if you turn on Fox News, it's literally just a propaganda machine.
Angry Democrats throwing a hissy fit after Elon Musk dropped the Doge hammer on the Hunter Biden of government agencies.
Supposedly there's $200 million worth of food that's being held up in ports right now. Condoms that need to go to Africa. AIDS medication. It's ridiculous.
Around the world, we are doing important medicine to help things from getting out of hand, like COVID. Those things, we are a big interconnected world. Those things come here.
All the money to fight diseases in other countries, that's going to come back to bite us when those diseases land here on our shores.
But hell, I don't want Ebola to come here and mutate. I don't want AIDS to mutate because,
I should note that following Trump and Musk's defunding of USAID, they've since decided to reinstate funding for Ebola and HIV research.
We have, for example, turned on funding for Ebola prevention and for HIV prevention.
Please don't do it.
Yes, correct.
Still, many of Elon's critics view his gutting of USAID as a strange, unnecessary thing, given its relative small percentage in the overall government spending budget.
USAID spending, foreign aid is not a large percent of our budget. Defense is a tremendous one. Social Security, Medicare, but foreign aid is a tiny, tiny fraction of American spending.
USAID's $43 billion budget is a tiny fraction of what the government spends, about 1%.
It's about $100 per taxpayer in America, although, if you have to figure out how much of that is really well-off people versus poor people, it's not on average. So it's a tiny, tiny amount of money that pays off tremendously for the benefit for Americans. People look at us as positively around the world.
Its support is a critical lifeline for people in need around the world, helping an estimated 32 million children suffering malnutrition and bringing food, water, shelter, and health care to victims of natural disasters.
In addition to being a humanitarian disaster, there's just no goodwill. We will become the hated country in the world, just like Germany was under the Nazis.
Some former officials say it could leave fragile countries more vulnerable to the influence of nations like Russia and China.
They're also cutting programs to help hungry kids here. It's a ridiculous survival of the fittest that we probably should move past as a civilization, just a little bit.
Hey man, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Our show's called Channel 5 on YouTube. Yep, that's right. You're watching Channel 5. What's up, my C5 family? As many of you guys know, I've been to many events just like that one in Union Square. And everywhere I go, without fault, whether it be a political rally, a convention, anything, one thing is constant. Somebody is gonna stink. But me as an interviewer, back to the streets of Union Square.
You seem to like Trump. I love Trump, Daddy Trump. Trump for emperor.
So how do you think about this whole
concept? She's a fucking troll. This lady was so bad at acting. She clearly doesn't actually give a fuck. She probably does support Trump just because she thinks it's funny. But other than that, there's no depth to this. This is just a clown. Literally a clown. She's there to piss people off. She's there to get people upset. She's there to rile them up. She doesn't actually believe anything she's saying. She's not even trying that hard. She's just saying straight up the rhetoric, like nothing different. She's not acting it out. She's not even. It's a dry delivery. It's a dry ass delivery. Happening. And
it's hilarious.
It seems like everyone around her kind of like recognizes that, so they're not going to engage with it.
I'm out here to watch the shit show and the troll.
What do you think about Elon Musk?
She even admits it. She says, I'm here to watch a shit show and troll.
I think he's hot. He needs a data tranny.
What?
No, I totally would fuck him so bad. Tranny.
See, she's not even...
What do you think about Elon Musk?
Trying.
I think he's hot. He needs a data tranny.
Data
no,
tranny?
I totally would fuck him so bad.
Are you
I don't think the Hitler salute was legit.
Huh?
Hi, I'm Hitler. What's wrong with that?
Yeah,
What's wrong with Hitler? Well, I mean, some people would say a lot of things.
8 million Jews can tell you what's wrong with Hitler.
This
Oh,
is
she
America.
engages her. She's
Everyone's
feeding the
entitled
troll.
to their own beliefs and
all good, baby.
More shrimp! More shrimp!
Always room for more shrimp. Definitely room for less Trump. So if there's one message for the people of America at home or worldwide, less Trump, more shrimp. Heard it here first.
You have anything to say to the world?
Definitely, like, stand up to fascism. There's a hostile takeover of the government happening. A bunch of billionaires are reaping the benefits from it, and we're all getting fucked. So people gotta hit the streets and make it happen. Also, like, more shrimp, less Trump.
Obviously, everybody at the rally was militantly anti-Elon, but a few of his supporters showed up to speak their minds.
I'm a Democrat for 45 years, no longer. So I put a lot of those people in office who voted for things that quite frankly, they're stealing money from us with all these NGOs that are being investigated. I like Elon Musk. Keep doing it. Keep looking at where our money is going and traveling to. I don't want to support war and our military dying or anybody else dying in any foreign countries.
You learn that like there's hundreds of billions of dollars going to these so-called NGOs. Yeah, and it's your tax dollars that are funding things that are fundamentally anti-American.
Going back to Doge, though, can you think of an example of them actually like cleaning things up and helping us save money so far, NGOs?
Well, there's a whole list, and you know, unfortunately I was hit by a car. I can't remember everything. I have a brain issue. But the thing that...
No, she didn't just say, oh my god, there's all this information, but I can't remember any of it because, you know, I got hit by a car. That's crazy. But you remember
I
all
was hit by a
this.
car. I can't remember.
She magically remembers all this shit, right? She remembers everything else. But magically can't remember the fucking information that goes against everything she fucking believes.
Remember
right?
everything. I have a brain issue.
Yeah,
But the thing that
the brain
that
issue,
I do know is like
that does explain one thing to me. Why you're so fucking stupid. I get that now.
I have a brain issue. But the thing that I do know is like giving prophylactics to like Guatemala, or you know, raising money for some Sesame Street DEI or LBGT thing going on in another country.
Drag shows in Ecuador.
She remembers all that. She remembers all the bad things the Democrats were doing, that the liberals were doing. She remembers everything to a fucking T, but doesn't remember any of the fucking GMOs that are in the food. She doesn't remember any of the other actual criticisms that go against Trump.
Atheism in Nepal, trans comic books in Peru.
Memory.
All these NGOs that are in other countries getting money from you and you and you and you, all of our taxes. Where is this money going? I like the Doge.
NGOs,
I want to know
GMOs.
where my money's going. I want to know why I can't afford to buy a steak, which is $22. I want to know why I can't afford to buy eggs.
Well, I would think it has something to do with the weapons manufacturers that are being subsidized by government contracts as opposed to DEI initiatives.
Well,
also, the egg thing happens to be the bird flu that happens to be fucking ravishing our country because your fucking God King Trump happened to destroy all of our systems in place to help us fight against disease and famine and all that kind of shit, right?
You know, the military-industrial complex has definitely been infiltrated with people who are corrupt, and I agree with you. And I hope that those contracts are looked at and found out,
and killed and canceled. And I hope people are held accountable and go to jail.
But what you said is also true about what a lot of people in the recovery community call the nonprofit industrial complex, which is these massive NGOs that are being funded and the money goes nowhere, just to salaries for activists.
Not only salaries for activists, but also many of these NGOs are semi-sophisticated money laundering operations for billionaires who embed their wealth in nonprofits to avoid paying taxes. Elon Musk himself owns a $5 billion charity called the Musk Foundation with no employees or staff. And notable other billionaires.
There we go. I wonder who else is fucking doing that. Everybody. It seems like everyone is doing it.
And Trump allies like Jeff Bezos owns a $100 million nonprofit with the stated goal of combating homelessness, or rather funding partner organizations who take that money and then go fight homelessness. In the city of Seattle, of all places, where nothing has significantly changed. But that doesn't seem to really concern wealthy NGO and nonprofit investors like
money laundering, tax evasion, ways to get tax cuts.
Musk and Bezos. After all, it's not just for PR and tax purposes. As scholar Ruth Wilson Gilmore puts it, the non-profit industrial complex is also dependent on surveillance and control. The rich have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, particularly when it comes to wealth distribution and control of media and information streams. So control of any non-profits in the social justice or so-called revolutionary realm allows them to do a few things. But most importantly, it allows them to create a quasi-welfare style financial dependency among the leaders of these causes and threaten to pull funding if they don't fall in line with the imposed narrative and agenda of government agencies and private corporations. They can also collect intel to either share with law enforcement or use to entrap, cancel, and dismantle anyone getting too spicy. Now, obviously not all NGOs are CIA psyops to dismantle revolutionary causes and launder taxable income for oligarchs. But to act like the NGO issue that Elon Musk is citing is just a conservative talking point that he's pulling out of his ass is insane. Whether or not he's actually going to do anything about it is a different conversation, but it's still a problem, and one that I hope gets solved.
Do you think there is such a concept as like the non-profit industrial complex? Like, do you think there is a degree of embezzlement when it comes to some of these organizations?
No. I'm not, no.
Don't think
I think nonprofits have stepped in to do the work that the government does not.
Yeah.
And so they're doing really important work, like providing free legal services to undocumented immigrants, providing health care where our system doesn't provide it. So I think they're doing really critical life-saving work. And without nonprofits holding up a system that is, not serving everyone, people won't get care, they won't get legal representation, they won't get the services they need.
Channel 5 Live Worldwide Hollywood Advice.
There you go. That's that. All right, guys. And that concludes my political stream hour, or whatever the fuck you want to call it at this point. If you guys can create a fucking name for me, or anyone's watching, that'd be awesome. I'll take that into consideration. I don't know what to call it, my little segment of news and politics, but I need a name for it, or something to call it. For now, I'll be heading off. I have work to get to. I just kind of want to relax, play my game. But appreciate everyone stop by. Take care, be safe, fight the oligarchy, fuck the rich, fuck these kings, fuck these people. They're trying to kill us out here. We need to do something about it.